Hi, everybody. This is Nate with TeachingBud. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to bring to you an ongoing project, something that I've been working on, and this is the THC Trap 2.0. I originally released a version of this a few to probably more than a few weeks ago and wanted to bring an idea of what I considered to be a perfected online classroom for cannabis as a part of my offerings. And so this is essentially me working on a template and me working on some of these ideas in an attempt to perfect that. And now that I'm working towards an educational format that I'm happy with, I've chosen a subject that's near and dear to my heart, one that I call the THC Trap. I'd like to say that higher isn't always better. And what I mean by this is that THC and focusing on it really gives people, in my opinion, the wrong idea about cannabis. For one, really narrows down the selections that you end up getting from cannabis. The reality is that not every genetic actually produces high THC, and I would argue in most cases that you should celebrate genetic diversity and many types of cannabis over just very few that happen to be high THC producers. Funny enough, one of the highest THC producers consistently is a strain called GMO, and most people don't really like it around these parts, funny enough, and it's because they just don't consider it to be as high quality of a smoke. So even in that, people know that high THC, if you catch them on the right side, they know that high THC isn't necessarily the best indicator for quality, but here we are. And I like to reinforce that higher isn't always better. So, what do I mean? What is the THC trap? Number one, it undervalues good quality cannabis. Good quality cannabis doesn't need to be high in THC. Generally, it's pretty juicy, but there are other means of being able to measure that. These are the terpenes that people oftentimes are talking about, and there are other volatile chemicals in there that contribute to the taste and to the smell and so forth. Things like flavonoids and esters and so forth. It creates conditions where producers of bad quality products are taking advantage of consumers and buyers. There are a lot of bad quality products out there where there are high THC numbers slapped on them. Sometimes it's not very good quality, but it happens to score fairly high in THC. And sometimes it isn't high in THC at all, but the tactic that a lot of brands and unfortunately certain labs kind of carry with them are that they are okay with giving fraudulent numbers for THC in order to dress and sort of mimic high-end products or what they think people are looking for or mistaking for high-end products. And it's like if the box wine industry told people it's superior because of a high alcohol content, which really isn't the case. If anything, I would argue that something like Sonoma wine, Napa wine, is, even if it's not as high in its ABV, can be considered much, much, much higher, superior to something like box wine, which oftentimes that's its gimmick, is it has high content. And I would say in the same way that I am sort of illustrating here with THC, that in a lot of ways high THC is a gimmick. So to go a little deeper into that, and I have, a few examples here, but I'd like to suggest out there that you have two different ends of the spectrum. And if you're chasing a very satisfying experience, you're probably not going to necessarily find it through looking for or focusing on THC. So what do I mean by this? And what are we looking at? Well, number one, you're looking at a better selection. If you're looking at the not focused on THC end of the spectrum. Better selections, you have a lot of sativas, a lot of kushes alike that don't ring generally high in THC. And there are strains from all over the world that are known for various flavors and effects. And in so many of these ways, THC is not a part of that equation. On the better end of staying away from THC, you also have the notion that there is more flavor typically involved. I like to sometimes suggest, and an oversimplification, of course, that you have only so much real estate inside of that plant. And if somebody's suggesting that it's just chock full of THC, you actually don't have that much room for flavor and nuance and all that other stuff that we cannabis smokers really like and go after. And so I'd say higher terps, higher esters, thiols, all that fun stuff. You find that generally in that high selection side, lower THC on, oftentimes in terms of staying away from that high THC content, you'll find that better set of selections. Higher THC, also going back to my point with so much real estate, tends to have less flavor. And in general, if you're looking at some of those strains like GMO that are known for being high in THC, but in these parts tend to get looked over, people, a lot of the time, maybe their number one complaint is with regards to the flavor. And also, I had run a I had run a focus group back in the day, and one of the things we found about high THC strains that we thought was very interesting is that high THC and low terps, in terms of a blind test focus group, were called harsh by the participants, which we thought was really, really interesting. So, what else are we confusing when hyper focusing on high THC? I have another example for you. So you have a batch of all of these different buds. Batches in terms of cannabis testing can go up to 50 pounds. And so there's a lot of variation you can see in that 50 pounds. Stuff on the high end, stuff on the low end. Let's say that you're looking at everything in terms of what's out there in that batch. Let's say it has an average THC of 21%, but that doesn't mean every single bud is 21%. Now, if you look at this, you might have buds that are as low as 15% in this example, as high as 27% in this example. Any number of those buds get sorted and separated into different containers and distributed, and those end up into the hands of different people. Now, did every single one of those people receive an identical bud? No, that's not necessarily how organic products work. If you think about this, that's kind of a really big oversight that people make of cannabis. If it was a 21% batch, again, that means that when it was sampled and all of those different buds were brought back to the laboratory, that means that everything was homogenized. That basically essentially means, blended, mixed together. Everything was homogenized and tested as one core sample. In this example, you're looking at a 21% batch. So if not everybody received a 21% bud, some people received higher, some people received lower. Is that a failing of the system? And the answer is no, it is not. That is the nature of purchasing an organic product, and something that so often is overlooked when focusing on THC, as so many people do. High THC too often gets confused with being high quality, but there are better ways to measure quality itself. Most cannabis strains are not high in THC. And there's a lot of people in the connoisseur crowds that don't even look for THC. If you look at things like how live rosin, high quality hash, consumers ultimately do their thing. They come in, they purchase on flavor. They typically purchase many flavors. They're not the least bit concerned with potency, and that's a big deal. And it's really important to look at that these people who aren't concerned with high THC come in and buy the house because they want to taste as much different variances of cannabis as possible, because it's an amazing plant, and that's an important thing for what we can consider to be the connoisseur crowd and what they like. Certain companies have even started taking advantage of consumers. There's a few examples that you should check out that I've run into. I really want you to see what a few of these companies have done and how they've communicated themselves in terms of what they try to express when it comes down to THC and what they think people are looking for. And it really causes some problems. As you can see here, there are a lot of cases where there are some bad actors who would be more than happy to sell people subpar products at the expense of anybody but themselves. And that's really not a fair practice. And I really just want to show you guys a few examples of this and what this THC trap and people trying to trick consumers has ultimately led to. So check this out. This is not a mistake. It is a strategy. And it will only work if you keep buying the lie. The thing I call the THC trap is this, and this is what it has led to. And this is what I am helping to inform everybody in the hope that we'll all be able to collectively fight against this. Be smart and don't let anyone try to fool you into buying their subpar products with high THC claims. You guys know better than that, and it's just not a fair practice in cannabis. Let's get past this collectively. When you see high THC, astronomical THC, consistently high THC, there are questions you should be asking. The bare minimum, are they just trying to feed you a certain strain, or are you looking at actually somebody responding to a market and offering virtually no diversity? Excuse me, and offering virtually no diversity because they're so focused on having to nail that high THC number over and over and over again. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Nate with TeachingBud. I hope you've enjoyed the THC Trap. Follow us for more great cannabis science and info, and love to see you guys for my next episode. Thank you so much, and till next time.